So we're going to be talking about how to install a new chip-out block on your hinge side and the tools and the hardware that requires to do the job. So you're going to need a tape measure, your Allen set, your new chip-out blocks with the spacers located in your main tag as well, and then the hardware that they should be labeled. And you'll have two different sizes, one for one spacer, so it's going to be one length for socket cap, and then for two spacers it's going to be a longer socket cap screw. So first you want to start by setting the tension in your chip out blocks. So normally when you receive a brand new set of chip outs from Kval, you'll notice that they're not preset. Normally you'll receive something to this right here, they're completely closed, no tension to them, or you'll receive another one that's completely open, just like this one right here. So what you're looking for is to set the right tension so they function properly when being clamped between the door and the jamb. So for that, we have this one here that's set to 1 inch and 5/16 gap, or 1 and 5/16 overall from outside to outside diameter. So now we're ready to install the chip-out block in this location. So you're going to grab your chip-out block, and we're just going to install one spacer because it's a new chip out. You don't need to do two, just one. And then we're going to look for the bag labeled one spacer, one socket cap length, just like that. And then that should be sufficient to be able to bolt this in the back plate that's located behind the jam clamp. So one note to keep in mind is if you use the wrong length on the socket caps, if they're too long, it's gonna actually stick out further on the back side, and it's gonna keep this thing plate with the spring attached to it from the back side. It's gonna prevent it from actually doing its function, and it's gonna get stuck. So you wanna make sure to use the right socket cap length. So now we're gonna grab the chip-out block, and we're going to have two socket caps for the length for one spacer. We're going to insert them in the through hole that's located on the front of the chip out. And then we're going to grab our Allen, a 532 Allen. We're going to push those all the way to the back, and then we're going to bring down the plate and then install the chip out. So after installation of the chip out, you just want to double check and make sure it should be free to go up and down with no resistance at all. After installing the new chip out blocks with the proper hardware and spacer, you're going to locate the burnout chip out button on the screen. And to do so, you're going to hit the manual screen button, and then that should take you into the screen where there's a section labeled Hinge with the burnout chip out button. Normally it will be off or disabled in red. So to go ahead and you're gonna hit that button and it should turn green. At this point, you're ready to run a specific sequence that's only for the chip outs, that's gonna switch your router sequence from a 3.5 to a chip out sequence. This is not the same. From that point, you want to have a door and a jam ready and clamp it up, and then you're going to walk into your start sequence button and just run it as a normal door and jam cutting sequence. So after selecting the chip out sequence button on the screen and clamping up a door and a jam, the last thing would be to hit your start sequence and run the machine as normally you would when you're running a door and a jam. After, if everything looks fine and you're happy with the result, the last thing you need to remember to do is to turn off or disable the button on the screen before you actually continue any actual production.